Hi everyone, welcome to Bible Science for Living. My name is Oladipupo Clement. Tell someone to tell another person to join. We are live. All right, so while we wait for others to join, just enjoy this beautiful music by Nathaniel Bassi featuring Eniton Adaba. Good to have you. Good to have you, the G Olushoga. Christmas, good to have you. Good to have you. Prince, good to have you. Thank you for joining. Tell someone to join us. We'll be starting in a bit. We'll be starting in about a minute. It's Nigeria. Oh. Tell someone to join. We're gonna have a great time today. All right, because of our time, let's just progress. Over the past couple of weeks, we've been examining how to develop a life plan. And I did mention, just for purpose of emphasis, that if you would love to have my life plan template, then I would recommend you register to be a part of the Tribe of Wealthy Origin. Or I just go on my bio and register, and then once you are added, then you will have the opportunity to join the Tribe of Wealthy Origin Basic. Okay, we've touched on quite a whole lot over the past few weeks, one of which is we defined what a plan is. We examined why you need a plan. We looked at the framework that makes your plan to work. All right, there's a God factor. So we came up with the 4 basic, and it was very, very exciting. I would recommend, if you missed out on all the previous editions, I would recommend you go on my IGTV and watch the replay, or you go on my YouTube channel at Oladipupo Clement to watch the replay, at Oladipupo Clem to watch the replays. And then we began over the last 6 weeks to look at the 6 compartments of your life that you need to actually plan for. We did mention that, the having a business plan is very good. Having a family plan is very good. Having a career plan, a spiritual health plan, and all of those things are very important. But having a life plan is way more holistic, and it's what we recommend. And if you have a life plan, it means your business is covered, your family is covered, your career is covered, your ministry is covered, your finances are covered, and everything is covered. So at a glance, you can have a cue as to what your life would look like 5-10 years from now. All right. So that's about that. So without further ado, let me just proceed to share with you. We've looked at 5 compartments so far. We've mentioned the spiritual health compartment, the spiritual health plan. We looked at your emotional, intellectual, and mental health plan. We looked at your physical health plan, and then we looked at your business, career, and and ministry health plan. We also looked at your relational health plan. Okay, I wouldn't want to dwell too much on that. So the final and the 6th compartment of your life you really need to plan for is your financial health plan. Now, your spiritual health plan talks about your relationship with your creator. It's a vertical relationship, and talks about your core, which is your spirit, right? And we discussed extensively on that day. That is about the fact that this is what drives everything. If anything tampers with your spirit, you're as good as dead. All right. So, and we went on to talk about your emotional, mental, and emotion. Your mental, emotional, and intellectual health plan talks more about your relationship with yourself. All right. And then we looked at your physical health plan, which talks about your relationship with your body. And then we went on to look at your relational health plan, which talks about your horizontal relationships, your relationship with people, your relationship with family, friends, and foe. Okay. And then we went on to discuss your ministry, business, and career health plan, which talks about your relationship with the markets, which this refers mainly to your source of income and impact. Okay, the life is way more than income. It's also about impact. All right, and that's what we dwelt on last week. So today we want to look at your financial health plan. Your financial health plan. This compartment of your life is so crucial, it's so critical that you don't leave it to chance. Okay, so let's quickly run through a few things. Your financial health plan talks about your relationship with money. All right, when you start to make money in your relationship with the markets, and you start to offer value, the natural consequence when you start to offer value, you start solving problems, you start meeting needs, is that you make money. Okay, but you can making money, you can earn biggest and still end broke. So making money is not where it ends, it's not where it should end, and that's why having this conversation is also very important. Having this part as part of your plan is so crucial. And so when we talk about your financial health plan, let's quickly read a scripture that I believe is critical, because this is Bible Sense for Living. Okay, Bible Sense for Living, your weekly guide for winning in life and in business. Okay, so let's look at Proverbs 21 and verse 20. Proverbs 21 and verse 20, and it reads, it says, "There is treasure to be desired and oil in the dwelling of the wise." It said, "But a foolish man spendeth it up." A foolish man spendeth it up. All right. There is treasure to be desired and oil in the dwelling of the wise, but a foolish man spendeth it up. So what that suggests is that when you start to make money, you need to save. We established the importance of having to make money. All right. If you don't make money, you start begging for money. If you run out of people to beg from, you start borrowing money. And when you run out of people to borrow from, you start compromising. You start compromising and cutting corners. And none of these three options are honorable. In fact, the third one can land you in jail. All right. And that's why we established the need for you to have a source or sources of income. Okay. So that's very, very important. And the only way you can command income is to offer value, is to solve problems, is to meet needs, right? And that's pretty much what it is. But when you start to make the money, then you need a plan for it. And that's why this is so crucial. In Luke chapter 14, verse 28 to 32, which happen to be the anchor scripture for this entire series, it says, "Do you see anyone intending to build a tower who will not first sit down and count the cost? Lest after he had begin to build and is not able to finish, people begin to mock him. Or do you see anyone who is going to battle and will not first sit down and evaluate whether with 10,000 you'll be able to battle with someone who has 30,000 and all of that? Otherwise, he begins to assemble his team, and then they go and discuss conditions of peace. So that tells you the importance of sitting down to count the cost, sitting down to evaluate or reevaluate. All right, so that's essentially one of the key things you need when it comes to making money. Listen to me carefully. Money is called currency because it is current. It is designed to flow. It's never designed to be static. And it often flows from the hands of fools to the hands of the wise. So you need a plan. You need a structure that helps to define the direction of your income before it comes. And that's the whole idea behind budgeting. So in my book, Financial Freedom Master Guide, I dedicated a whole chapter to talk about budgeting, and I gave a framework that I have we've used also for several other organizations and individuals, right? And it will help you a great deal. The other component of planning is record keeping, okay? And you don't need to be an accountant or chartered accountant to be accountable, right? So you need records, because your record keeping helps you to review financial history, whereas your budget helps you to forecast what will come. And this is why it's so important. Now your financial history, which you derive from your records, right, will help you to draw and forecast, and help you to draft an effective budget. Okay. If you know what your last 6 months looked like, it will also help you in projecting for the next 6 months or even more. All right. So, what are your fixed income? What are your fixed income sources, right? Like salaries, all right, or maybe rent, and all of that, or dividends or whatever. Okay. And then what are your fixed expenditure, all right? But before we even get to the expenditure, because your budget essentially it's built on two sides of a document, right? So the income column and then of course the expenditure column. Your income column basically outlines all your sources of income, the fixed sources of income and the variable sources of income. So if you are the type of person who also have what people typically call side hustle, even though I don't believe in hustle, right? I believe in purpose, I believe in direction, I believe in business, I believe in impact, but that's not the purpose of this conversation. So you list out all your sources of income, including your salary. And if you don't earn a salary, you only earn income, which means it is what you produce that determines what you earn, right? That is good enough for a start, all right? So you list them out. And if you have inheritance and you have, revenue that comes from inheritance, then you list them out there. All right. This is simply what the plan is about. And then, of course, your expenditure column. And this is where a lot of people make mistakes. Now, in drafting an effective budget, one key thing, and I really cannot dwell too much on that, but this is just to give like a crash course. A lot of times, why a lot of people find it difficult to save or invest, and it's essentially because we prioritize other things over your savings and investment and over your covenant obligations. You don't treat your savings and investments. You don't treat your savings and investments. You don't treat your covenant obligations as part of your expense. As a matter of fact, as your number one expenses. You see, you need to learn and embrace the concept of paying yourself first. Paying yourself first is a fundamental requirement, and that will help you to stay afloat in seasons of scarcity and emergencies, right? Whether you like it or not, life moves in cycles, and there will always be seasons of scarcity. There will be famine. There will always be season of abundance, right? What you do in the season of abundance is also what will determine how you fare during the season of famine. And that's called life cycle. It's called wealth cycle. It's called business cycle. So life is peaks and valleys. It's full of peaks and valleys, and so you are not likely to survive in season of scarcity, in season of famine, if you did not maximize and plan what you do with your resources when you have season of plenty. And that's why it's so crucial that you have a financial health plan, right? Because you see, every other aspect of your life requires some funding. Every other health plan that you have drafted requires funding. You want to build your spirit, you need to buy a Bible, you need devices, you need to buy materials, right? You need to attend seminars. It requires some funding, all right? You need to develop your health, your emotional health. You need therapeutic interventions. You need massage, physical health plan. You need the gym instructor. All this requires funding, right? You want to nurture your relationships, whether it is a romantic marital relationship. You need fund to fund the fund, all right? Without romance, without finance, there can't be romance. So you need all that. So you see the importance of your financial health plan. But you see, everything else you have done from the beginning impacts on your business, which is your source of income, and ultimately impacts on your financial health plan. So if you don't do well in your business or career or your ministry, it will reflect in how much income you generate, and that ultimately, spiral into your financial health plan, which is how do you distribute your income. You see, what architectural plan is to a building, right? It's exactly what a budget is to your wealth. If you will not be broke tomorrow, it's today you will know, right? Even if you have made mistakes in the past, which you can't really correct, you can only correct going forward. All you need to do is to sit down, and reevaluate if you have a source of income, for example, you have records of how you have made money. You see how much has passed through your account, how much you've generated, and then review what are the things that has is taking money from you, that's not adding value to you, you make the relevant adjustment. And then you look at the areas of your life that is not producing as much, that's not even producing at all, and then you can cut down and then focus more on the things that is producing for you the next month or the next year or the next quarter. And that's how essentially you because there's no point whipping a dead horse. It won't still take you to your destination. It's important that you begin to review and then re-strategize, right? It's extremely important. You can't keep doing the same thing again and again and expect a different result. And this is why this is so important. It's so crucial. It's so important. Okay. So your financial health plan basically talks about your relationship with your money. So this is where you talk about your earnings, you talk about budgeting, you talk about, okay, what are the things you're going to spend money on? And this is my own simple framework. Prioritize 30%, 10% your tithes, which represent your covenant obligations, and then 20%, minimum of 20% for your savings. Now, the earlier you want to retire, the earlier you want to be financially free, right, will determine how much you should commit to it. Of course, it also depends on how much responsibilities or dependence you have, right? All of that will also be drags and weights, and sometimes may be required that there are people you have to tell, sorry, I will not be able to attend to you over the next 10 years, over the next 15 years, until I stabilize. And when I stabilize from the process of my income, I can now begin to take care of you. I can begin to take responsibility for certain areas of other people's lives, right? And that's very important. That will be required because you need speed, right? To be able to, it's someone that has blood that can donate blood. So you need that in your financial health plan. I had a very, very interesting story, and it's important I bring that story up here. I had a very interesting story of one of the business moguls in Nigeria. This gentleman belonged to a family, and one of beautiful thing, both beautiful and also has its own downside about the African community, is the fact that we are very communal in our nature and in our operations, right? While it has its own upside, it also has its downside. Now, the upside is the fact that hardly would you hear of people say they want to commit suicide because we are family oriented, we're always moving with family and all of those things. I'm not talking of the modernization of relationships now where people hardly even see each other, and then you even may be stone thrown away, and yet you don't even get to connect, you don't get to talk, right? But the regular African culture promotes community, all right? And then, but the community also comes with its own levy, comes with its own burden, what we know as the black tax. So the first person, the firstborn, most times can be the only burden bearer, breadwinner for the entire family. And so sometimes you see a lot of people old enough to have gotten married, old enough to have even made significant progress in their lives, but because of the burden of carrying other people's responsibilities, they are not even able to make progress in their own respective lives. And that also encourages high level of irresponsibilities among other people who depend on, they look up to someone that they depend on. Now, there's nothing wrong in helping people who are behind you, right? There's nothing wrong, but there's something wrong with encouraging irresponsibility, right? So anyways, this gentleman I heard about broke away from family meetings, completely disconnected, and dedicated himself to building his business for the first 10 years. And from what I gathered, the gentleman, after about 10 years, within that 10-year period, every other members of the family considered him very arrogant, and people would name you, whether you are generous or not. People will still give you a name. People have opinions, and there's very little you can do about it in this age and time of social media. People have opinions, so opinions now. The media is now democratized. People can air their views, air their opinion, even if they are wrong, even if they are incorrect, even if they don't have sufficient data to support it. People will still say something. Cut the long story short, the gentleman, after 10 years, decided to start calling some of the members of the family and say, hey, that thing you were talking about, that you said you wanted to do, that project you wanted to do, that business you wanted to do, so how much will it cost? And then the person will mention the amount, and then he will settle the person and say, this is the only condition for giving you this money. Number one, you are not going to tell anybody in the family. Number two, you are not going to return back asking me for any money. I want to set you up, and I want you to be self-sustained. I don't want you to ever talk to anybody, and then I don't want you to return do we have a deal? And then the person says, yes, I have a deal. We have a deal. And then he will release the funds. And then gradually there were converts in the among the family members. So when issues around that points at him comes up, you start hearing people. You started having division in the family, and then they started having divergent views in the family, and then you start hearing people say, no, they're rebellion, our big brother is not like that, big brother is not like that. He's a very nice man. They were not saying anything about what he did for them, but they would just say, they're rebellion, big brother is not like that kind of a person, and all of that. And then one after the other, you call them one after the other, and it was basically going about resolving the economic problem through empowerment, right? Not just giving money, but saying these are the conditions. You must go and produce. You are not returning back. If you fail, that's the end, and all of that. And you see, by so doing, he was able to impact and empower his members of families. But it took him 10 years of breaking away, because a lot of us have drags and weights, all right, and that's impeding on our speed, impeding on our progress. So unfortunately, most people, especially in Africa, don't reach out to you for advice. They reach out to you for money. Money is not what you need. It is what will produce the money that you need. And when you are taught how to fish, then you can produce for yourself again and again. Bottom line, this is exactly what we will need to do. For some of us, that's what some of us will need to do. Some of us are probably you're already doing very well, and then most of the members of your family are also doing very well. If you're in that particular situation, then congratulations, right? But if you're not in such a situation, then you need to make very tough decisions, right? Because if you really, really want to succeed financially, you must develop your capacity to say no without even feeling guilty. All right. Now, I know how difficult this was for me, how it has even been, right? You will be in the bad books of some people, right? There's no way you can please everyone. And the gentleman Bill Cosby was asked many, many years ago, what is the secret of his success? And he said, he can't tell you exactly the secret for success, but he can tell you the secret for failure. And his response was, just attempt to please people, and then you will fail effortlessly, right? You will fail effortlessly, right? In my book, Rewriting Your Financial Story, I told the story of how by the time I was 27, I was already a multi-millionaire in Nigerian Naira, and I was really doing very well. And what I didn't realize was that everyone I helped, everyone I supported, everyone I assisted was broadcasting the news to everybody else. And I just kept realizing that I kept getting drained and drained, until, I became broke again, right? I'd mastered how to make money, but I didn't know how to retain money and sustain it. That was what I lacked at that phase of my life. I've shut down accounts many, many times just because I wanted to help people. I wanted to be in the good books of people, right? And I know some of you who may be listening to me right now have similar experiences. And one of your biggest pain is that even your parents or some elders or authority figures in your life will summon you for meetings to solve issues and all of those things. And you seem to have been, more or less mortgage your destiny, mortgage your finances, and even the comfort of your home, comfort of your other components or compartments of your life. Anyways, and when I wrote that book, I documented that I never shed the oil, but shed the light. Right? In other words, preserve what is producing the income. You are free, you are at liberty to distribute the proceeds of your income, and then have a budget for welfare. All right, there's nothing wrong with you distributing and supporting people, but just have a budget for it. Once that account is depleted, then other people wait for the next month. Right? There's no month where I don't do givings, where I don't support and don't do. There's no month that passes, no matter how high or low my income is, but there's a budget to it. There's a provision for it, right? Because ultimately, when you even help people and you are down, you realize that because they were not really empowered, they are not even in a position to help themselves, let alone help you if you need help. So these are the reasons why you need to really, really figure this out. And your financial health plan is very, very, very critical. But the secret I found is prioritize your savings and investment, prioritize covenant obligation. Now, your covenant obligation essentially settles more or less like your spiritual investments. All right, that's pretty much what it is, and it's what provides security for your fiscal investments. All right, and this is so important. it's so important. Because money saved, money invested, sooner or later you can always close it, you can always reach out to it. But money spent is gone forever. It's irretrievable except you make and generate another kind of income, right? So you want to do it with just this last weekend. One of my mentees reached out to me. I just got in this stable job and he's doing pretty well and he's fairly comfortable, but he's now saying he wants to rent a house. He's been scouting with a friend and we were just sharing quite a lot of things. Now he was saying a lot of things and then he was thinking of buying an iPhone, and he was thinking of doing this, and then yes, he was thinking of doing that, and then said he wanted my opinion. And by the time I was done with him, I asked him a question. I said, if he did not have this job, will he think of moving out of his friend's house? He said, no, sir. I said, if you have not moved away from your friend's house, would you think of buying an iPhone? He said, no, sir. I said, so now let me lend you this brain. Number one, remain in your friend's house. Is he complaining? He said, no. He said, yeah, the only issue is that it's not comfortable. I said, you have endured it for the last 3 years. So you endure it for the next 1 year. I said, your next year rent, the next 1 year, what I just recommend you do is that you make sure you provide support to your friend who is being your host for these last 3 years. So make sure if you need to hire someone to be cleaning the place, if there are things you need to pay for changing light bulbs, paying electricity bill, just so that you can at least be in the good books. This year has been of support to you. Then make sure you start paying your rent forward. Start a rent account where you start paying your rent forward. He was giving me explanation that it's very expensive to get rent in this particular area of town, blah, blah, blah. By the time it was done, I explained to him, if you do it this way, and then do you have a cooperative in your establishment? Okay, so open this cooperative account in your establishment. Do you have this? I told him, all these other things, do this, do that. I gave him specific instruction. By the time we're done, the guy was blown away. He said, wow, this is just incredible. And that's exactly, I can't give you his model because you don't have his income, right? You can't. It's not one size fits all approach. There are people that the first thing to do with their income is not to even be saving. Even if they do savings at all, which I may not recommend, the first thing they may need to start spending money after their covenant obligation is to start investing in themselves, because they are earning too low enough to even to generate more income than they are currently earning. So the point I'm trying to make in a nutshell is that this is what your financial health plan covers. When you treat your savings, investments, you treat your covenant obligation as your number one expense in your expenditure column, what it does for you is that you now live on whatever is left. All right. It was the great man Warren Buffett who said, rich people invest and save and invest first and spend whatever is left. Poor people, on the other hand, they spend first and invest whatever is left. And I added, if there's anything at all. And more often than not, there's nothing left at all. So which is why you must prioritize your savings and investment. You have an account that nobody, there's no ATM to that account. There's no internet banking. You can even set up a standing order. You can have a cooperative accounts if you belong to a cooperative. You can set up a SUSU if you have other fellow colleagues who are also earning stable income, and then develop a plan around all of these things, and then convert these savings to acquisition of assets. All right, acquisition of assets. Okay, you don't save as an investment, mind you. You save for investment. You don't save as an investment, you save for investment. Now, this is all part of your financial health plan, all right? Earning income is what we looked at last week. Today, it's about what do you do when you make the money. Okay, so saving for investment, not saving as an investment. Saving as an investment is a bad strategy because the return on investment is very poor, all right? But saving for investment means that you are just aggregating funds toward the purchase of an asset. All right, an asset can be classified into two, at least for now. There's the asset that is basically just appreciating in value, it's not generating any income, right? But there's also the asset that is cash flow generating asset. It's both appreciating in value and it's also generating income. And there are different steps and different strategies that can help you, to optimize the value and the cash flow potential of your assets. So depending on the asset class that you have chosen, right? And of course the objective. So if you're planning for, different things in your life over the next 1 year, you have to begin to look at, you have to begin to examine, you have to begin to look at your, you have to begin to look at, is it a 1 year term? So if you are looking at any obligations within a 1 year period, then it's important that you put those kind of obligations around in money markets, because the return on investment is low, and of course the demand is also minimal. All right, so this is very, 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 very important. So so that's pretty much the much that we are going to touch on today. But essentially, what you do basically with your returns, with your savings, is basically for the purchase of assets. So what you do is you stack up your asset column. So apart from your income and expenditure, you also need asset and liability. You need to make a list of all your liabilities and make a list of all your assets. These are the things you do in your financial health plan, right? These are the things you begin to plan for, right? That by this time, if you are 37 now, by the time you are 47, this is going to, and let me quickly give you a heads up. You are in a better place when you plan for the next 10 years, minimum. Nigerians are short-term minded, and that's why we fall into a lot of faulty schemes here and there, right? It's better, and I say that with every sense of responsibility and a sense of experience, all right? Look at a 10-year plan for your financial health plan, that within a 10-year period, if you do the right things, you acquire the right asset classes, you acquire the right assets, the truth of the matter is, in 10 years maximum, you'll be financially free. If you do the right things, particularly during your active working life, if you do the right things, in 10 years, you'll be good. The proceeds from those assets should be able to replace your income at that time, your active income. And if you get to that point where your asset can produce income that can replace your active income, then you are in a better place than most people around you. All right, so then your goal should be to starve your liabilities. What are the subscriptions in your life that you will need to eliminate? Who are the people you are funding or supporting that they need to go and do something more rewarding? You can't keep doing this to them. You are actually hurting them. All right, there are people like that you need to make that decisions to or make those decisions for. All right, so these are key things that you need to consider. So look at your income, look at your expenditure, and then you want to look at what makes up your liability and what makes up your asset. I recall many years ago, one of my friends who is a multi-billionaire today, right? The guy said he had to take stock of all his assets, and all he could point at then was bunch of kettle, stove, pot, fry pan, black and white TV, and a mattress, and all of that. And he realized that, man, he needs to wake up. These were the realities. So you need to also take stock. What are your liabilities? What are your assets? All right. Who are your dependents? Those are the people that make up your liability column. All right. Because your liabilities only depreciate in value and then continue to take money from you. If you have a car that is not producing income, you work in an office, you go to the office with your car in the morning and then you return in the evening. The car is not producing any income. It's only taking money. And after 5 years, that car is no longer the same value. How can you optimize the same liability to become a source of income? All right. Now, there's nothing wrong with having a car. Don't get me wrong. Car is a necessity, is relevant to move you from place to place and all of those things. So, but the point is that, is there more you could do with those assets? Guess what? Even having a house of your own, it's not necessarily an asset if it's not fully optimized, right? Sometimes it even pays to just be a tenant, be the landlord and be a tenant at the same time. Your proceeds from your assets, from your tenants, can be paying your rent. And sometimes if what you are capable of buying is to even buy a property in a location you can afford now, but not the place where you would love to live, then there are people who can pay for that rent at that location, but live where that is not far from your place of work. These are part of the things you need to optimize. Where you live and where you work and where you worship, where you work and where you live, and when your children's school shouldn't be more than 10 minutes away from each other. If you really want to live long and you want to make the most of your life, and you want to also minimize how much you spend in terms of the wear and tear on your car, the wear and tear on your body, and all of those things, then those are the things you need to factor, right? This is extremely important. So these are the bit of recommendations. But if you need any form of advice or recommendation, just join the Tribe of Wealthy Origin Basic. I do a lot on a weekly basis to help that community make informed decisions with regards to their financial lives, their business and career. So feel free to join that tribe. So that will be all for today. So much has been shared. I want to believe that this has added value and it's been of tremendous value to you. If you have any question, feel free to share. Next week, I'll take it a step further on this journey. It's been an exciting one. It's been an amazing one. I want to believe that this has added value to you today. This coming Saturday, I'm hosting the Wealth Unleashed webinar. Don't miss it, 5 p.m. West African time, and it will be a time of your life. Now, if you know anyone, one of the things I shared, I set as a goal in the beginning of the year was to help 100 people become a millionaire, at least earn $1 million. Now, I have a major opportunity that has just recently opened up. And I'm using this platform to say it because, I mean, I don't know who is going to see this video and how quickly you will see this video. And I'm hoping that you will see the video as soon as possible. All right. And I set up this plan. So if you would love to at least make 1 million naira between now and end of this year, and even have steady cash flow, then you want to take advantage of it. So just call my executive assistant on 0708-797-0441. Just 100 people, and I want to showcase them for, and listen, 1 million naira is the minimum you will earn by taking advantage of what I'm going to be sharing. So don't miss it for anything. So just text or call my executive assistant on 0708-797-0441. Also, if you're a business owner, or you are an entrepreneur, you are a salesperson, you are a consultant or coach, then I'm going to be hosting what's it called now? I'm going to be hosting a program this evening by 7 p.m. West African time, 1 p.m. EST. It's going to be a time of your life. You want to learn how to generate clients for your business, at least 20 clients daily, then you don't want to miss this particular webinar. It's going to show you exactly the framework and the tools that can help you to automate your revenue and put your income on autopilot. So if you're an entrepreneur, you're a coach, you're a business owner, you're a consultant, you're a salesperson, you work for other companies by selling for them, then you want to be in this particular program. This is happening later this evening today, and you don't want to miss it for anything. So chat that number up, and then 0708-797-0441 to get the registration details so you can be a part of it. That will be all for now. I want to believe you've drawn value, and then we'll see you again on Saturday, 5 p.m. West African time, 11 a.m. EST. God bless you, and do have a splendid rest of the day. Bye for now.
When I think upon your goodness and your faithfulness each day.
Thank you too. Marvelous.
Because I am worthy to receive the kind of love that you give. But I'm grateful for your mercy. And I'm grateful for your grace. And because of how you poured out yourself, I have come to sing this song out in praise. Inela, oh, Inela, Okaka,
Oh yeah,
oh yeah, Kerouac.
right, so bye for now, everyone. See you next Saturday and next week.